Hey, you guys, I just wanted to pop on. I was thinking about art journaling today as I launched my new Art Journaling for Joy class recently. And I wanted to come up and share with you 3 life lessons I've learned through art journaling. So I've been art journaling for over 20 years. It's just, some people write in journals a lot. Maybe some people will type out their feelings. I tend to doodle, draw, scribble, paint, that kind of stuff. More than I write with words. So art journaling is a really important process for me emotionally and creatively. But there's 3 metaphors that I realized that I wanted to share with you guys that I think can apply to anyone's life. So let's talk about those. The first one I want to share is that scribbling is sacred. So here's the deal. Sometimes in my art journals, I literally just scribble, like a 2-year-old scribble. Hey, Veronica. Like I don't make art, I just scribble. And that becomes a sacred space because we don't need to have things all figured out. We don't need to do life perfectly. We don't need to be able to produce something wonderful and amazing in an art journal. An art journal is meant for kind of a free space where you can just express yourself. And there's something sacred about that. So whether you do art journaling or whether you find this somewhere else in your life, take this metaphor that scribbling is sacred. So basically find an area in your life where you can let go of perfection. Find an area in your life where you can scribble. Maybe it's letting the chores go for the day because you really need to just spend time with a friend having coffee. So your house doesn't look the way you want it to. That's okay. Scribbling is sacred. Maybe it means that you've done the best you can in a situation and you still feel like, things are not turning out the way you want. That's okay. Scribbling is sacred. Maybe you literally need to scribble. And so get out some crayons, get out some pens, get a piece of paper, and it doesn't have to make any sense. Just scribble. Maybe you can just write a bunch of words. Maybe you are a writer and you like to journal, and just writing things down that don't make any sense. They don't have to make any sense to anybody else. Your thoughts don't have to follow a pattern that's going to be able to be understood for it to be sacred. But we need to have these sacred spaces in our lives where we can really express ourselves. Number 2, messes can become masterpieces. And if I haven't learned anything from art journaling, I've learned this. So when I teach an art journaling class, I always tell people that messes are not mistakes. There's no mistakes when it comes to art journaling. And I think that that's how God views our life. Yeah, we can mess up. We can do things that don't please him, or we can make mistakes. We can make bad decisions, of course. But God is the redeemer of all those things. So whether it's a mess in your art journal that then you kind of work with, like there was this one page I was doing, and I was using a white paint pen, and I pressed down too hard on it, and it made all this white paint pour out all over the page. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, what a mess. And then hey, Lisa. And then my second thought was, what can I do with this mess? And so I started to incorporate that mess into the design of my page. Well, if I can do that in a little book with a paint and a pen, what can God do with the messes of our lives, right? If we surrender these messes to him, he can take our messes in life and turn them into a masterpiece. We're coming up close here to Easter, and that's the whole point, right? That Jesus died on the cross and took what are our messes and turn them into a finished work on the cross. So let's take a picture of life that when we find ourselves in a mess, when we've made a mess of things, when a mess has been maybe put in front of us, maybe it's not even something we've done, what's the redemptive side of all that? What's the masterpiece that can come of that? And sometimes in the middle of the grief and in the middle of the mess, it's really hard to see that there's hope, but there's always hope, and the messes do become masterpieces. The third thing I want to share with you guys is that in an art journal, your pages are protected. And that's really good because sometimes I will draw things, I'll just doodle or draw from my heart, and some of the images that come out I don't like not just I don't like aesthetically, but I don't like them because they're so emotional that it just brings up a lot of emotion to look at them. But it's important to look at, right? So in an art journal, we can create that and we can close it when we need to, and then we can reopen it when it's time, and then we can close it again. And so we can revisit feelings, emotions, things that we've learned, but we can also pack them away and make them protected. We can close them up in the book. And the metaphor in real life for that is that we need to find these places in our lives, whether it's a friendship where we can share our heart, whether it's going to counseling, whether it's art or writing or something that you do where you can express yourself and then put that away if it becomes too much. I'm a trained counselor, and one of the things they call counseling is the container, that counseling is a container. And the reason they call it a container is because people can come into the counseling office, talk about what's going on, and then kind of close it back up for the week or the 2 weeks or whatever the time frame is, and reopen it in that safe space again, in that container. Well, I think we all need to find those spaces in our lives where we find those containers. Often it can be in a treasured friendship, it can be in a hobby, it can be in something that kind of surprises us, maybe going for a walk and we were able to just kind of leave the junk out there in the world, and come back to our home feeling like the burden is lightened after a walk. But we need to find these places that are protected in our lives, because life is hard, you guys. Life is hard. And if we don't find protected spaces to be able to share our hard life with, or to be able to process through hard life, life is going to get pretty lonely at times. So just like in an art journal, we need to find these places that are protected. So let's go over this one more time. 1, scribbling is sacred. So that's basically like, let's ditch perfection and just express yourself somehow. Get your feelings and emotions out, because that's a sacred process. 2, messes can become masterpieces. Thank goodness, right? If ink all over a page and paint all over a page can turn into a pretty new idea, well, then let's take that metaphor and run with it in our lives. And number 3, pages are protected. And that's an important concept for us to have, is to find those protected spaces in our lives. Like I said, a friendship, a counselor, a journal, something like that, a place where you can really express yourself and be who you are. And it's a protected space. So anyway, I hope that you guys found those helpful. If you have any thoughts you want to add to it, I'd love to have a discussion in the comments. So feel free to add anything you'd like to say, and I can't wait to see what you think. See if any of that related to you. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.